President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to visit Nelson Mandela Bay Metro following the devastating floods over the weekend. Over 3,000 people have been displaced in the Nelson Mandela Bay and Buffalo City Metro, while 10 lost their lives, including 2 from the Buffalo City Metro. The Nelson Mandela Metro yesterday released a statement that this has been classified as a national disaster, with the cost of recovery estimated to be in the region of 1 billion rand. For more on the story, let's cross to SABC news reporter Lerato Fekisi. She's in Nelson Mandela Bay. Lerato, what a time for this to all be happening, and how are things going? How are the people that have been affected? Talk to us about the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro and the after effects of this terrible flooding.
Good morning, Julian. I think the after effects of this tragedy have really been the toughest part. You can imagine someone whose home was stable just a week ago, and now days later they're beginning the mop-up operations. Yesterday we got to visit some of the community halls where people have been housed. The number there is actually decreased, and which means that people are now headed back to their homes. Concerning because their homes are in low-lying areas, but they say, you know what, it's better to go back home and save what we have left from what is destroyed from the floods. But like you said earlier on yesterday, the NMB Council had an urgent council meeting where they sat to probe the way forward as to suggest what must be done now to help those who have been affected by the floods. On the table, Leanne, is a letter that's been drafted to Treasury to request an amount of 155 million rand because this has been declared a disaster, like you said, and now the plan is to see how those funds will be allocated rightfully to those that have been affected. But I'm joined this morning by the Mayor of the NMB, Mr. Gary Fanigek. Talk to us briefly about the council meeting, the way forward, and above all, how those that have been destitute are going to be assisted after this ordeal. Mr. Mayor, yesterday an urgent council meeting was held. In that you proposed that you're going to draft a letter to Treasury to request 155 million rand. That's quite a large sum of money, but understandably for the disaster it rightly fit. Can you just break down for us also time frames as into where the money is going to be allocated and what's the most urgent need now for the money to be allocated to the people who've been affected?
Morning, Lerato, and morning to Sakina and the studio. And also morning to your viewers. Lerato, the most important thing with the 155 million rand, it's not the only money that we've made available, but that 155 million rand is still money that's unspent from our conditional grants. So luckily this week we've had the MECs here, we've had the Premier here, we've had ministers here already, and the Minister of Human Settlements, Minister Kubai, has already given the go-ahead verbally that we can move that money that we have in our as part of our conditional grants and use it for the restoration of Kariga. So that is where it will be going towards. At the moment, there's lots of people living in community centres, church halls. We want to say thank you to all the churches for opening up their doors and taking their rightful place in society as well. But it's not normal for people to be living in community centres and church halls. If you take, for example, I was there yesterday, for example, the sewage facilities, it's not, it doesn't cater for 150 people, and we saw some of the drains already overflowing. And what we did in council as well was that we wanted to identify pockets of land so that we can get TRUs. TRUs is the temporary residential units from national government, and then take those people who have been living all these years below the flood line and move them permanently to a place that's much safer for them to live on a permanent basis. We've also moved 40 young kids into a lodge as well that's been living in these community halls so that they don't live amongst adults and sleep with adults in the same room.
Mr. Mayor, when the Eastern Cape Premier was here this week, and I quoted what he said, that he's very much aware that the Eastern Cape is prone to disasters, and what's also important now is to try and mitigate so that when a disaster comes, not everyone is running around trying to bring a stop or trying to save, but you foreplan to make sure that when such things happen, people that are in such areas are not affected. And an issue in the Eastern Cape has been, like you said, people that have been building settlements in low-lying areas. A long-standing issue in the Metro, people have been asked not to build in those areas. What plan is the Metro now going to put in place so that next year again in winter times, when you know that there might be floods, the Metro not running around trying now to solve the situation, that could have planned for properly to ensure that in areas where we are disaster-prone, people are not building homes there?
Yes, you're right when you say next year around about this time. On the 26th of May last year, this government was voted in. A few weeks thereafter, the rains came as well, around about the same time as now, and that's when our drought was broken. The one thing the President mentioned was that we need to take climate change very seriously. The scientists have been telling us that the droughts will be more frequent and they will be more intense. The same with the floods. We'll have more floods and more intense floods, like you've seen in the devastation by these floods. What I can tell you is the Premier is correct when he says that everybody was running around, or you said everybody's running around on Sunday morning. We found ourselves all over the place with community members, with NGOs, all trying to assist. Everybody had good intentions, but we could have coordinated it better right from the start. The big problem we had was that for our disaster plans to kick in, we depend on the weather warnings from the SA Weather Services. On Friday, we received a weather warning, only of a level 2 yellow warning, and that's just to warn us of rain coming. But when I looked at my weather app on my phone, and that's early during the week, and I already advised our MMC of Safety and Security to get boots on the ground in case, because the amount of rain that was predicted was really huge. And then only on Sunday morning after the rain came, we got a level 6 orange warning from SA Weather Services.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Well, as the Mayor of NMB, Mr. Gary van Niekerk, speaking about the plans put in place to try and mitigate such disasters going ahead, saying that the President visits much welcome. He's going to be visiting 4 areas in NMB to try and find out what national, local and provincial government has done to help those who are destitute by these floods. For now, let's go back to you in the studio.
Lerato Fekisi, thanks very much for that update.